everybody, and happy new year, and welcome back to my channel. I've not been here for a while. I've not done many YouTube videos for a long time, but here I am. I'm back with a new video, which was at the suggestion of one of my Facebook followers, Christina, who suggested I do a video on talk about my advice and give my guidance to any new and upcoming budding mediums. So I did write a book that was released in January 2021 called Coming Down to Earth by David Hale. And it is a book that is aimed at upcoming mediums, newly developing mediums, mediums that are afraid to take the first step into their mediumship or not knowing where to start. So if you haven't got that book, do head to Amazon, and it's available on all Amazon platforms. Again, it's called Coming Down to Earth by David Hale. And it is just it's like a guidance book, and it's not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step of becoming a medium. It's not that. It's a book about my journey into developing as a mediumship psychic, and it gives my advice and guidance on different bits and pieces, little anecdotes from my own personal life, as well as giving my advice and opinions and views on certain different things within the spiritual realms, the mediumship realms, psychic realms, paranormal realms. So it's a book. It's quite funny, I've been told, but it's also informative, and it's down to earth. It's not all airy fairy and rainbows, clouds, unicorns, and that fluffy stuff. It's very down to earth, straight talking book, which people are thoroughly enjoying. So this is just my advice and my guidance. And I always say to people that I can only talk about my experience. I can't talk on what other mediums have done to develop. I can only talk about my experience, give my views and opinions based on what I have seen, what I have felt, what I've experienced, and what worked for me. What works for me may not work for everybody, but I'm just going to give you my views and opinions on developing as a medium. So I think with that said, let's get straight into the video. So my first bit of advice really before going into doing mediumship or anything like that is really think about why you're going into it, to make sure you're going into it for the right reasons. And there can be many reasons as to why you want to become a medium or develop your mediumship. And it's really important to understand that, this role, it is a role. It's you are helping people. Like any job that you do, it's a role, it's a job, it's an ability, it's a skill, it's a talent, and it's going into it utilizing all those things for the right reason. So, for example, if you're going into it to, earn money, just to become a bit famous, get your name out there, then I would suggest to pick another career, because this role, this ability it's there to help people. I know it sounds a bit cliche, we want to help people, blah, 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 but it truly is that. If I look at why I got into it, for example, I watched many mediums and psychics for many, many, many years, going to psychic fairs and mediumship demonstrations and watching all these great mediums on YouTube. And I really looked at them in awe, and just looking at the reaction of the people they're reading for, bringing that peace, bringing that hope, bringing that healing, bringing all those positive, uplifting emotions in, and helping people heal from their grief, I suppose, or just giving people some direction in life, giving them some guidance. And I thought to myself, if there's one thing I would love to do in life, that's what I'd like to do, is help people from that sense, because I've lost a lot of people. I'm sure many of you watching have lost a lot of people. And to see the impact that these genuine, talented, inspiring mediums have on other people, that really inspires me. That inspires me to do better. It inspires me to keep developing and keep learning, keep working on my craft. And that's what I say to you, is going into it for the right reasons. Because unfortunately, I have heard stories of, people develop into a medium and out of their mouth come the words, because I want to earn an extra bit of money. I'm really sorry. But again, if that's your focus, change career. This ain't the career for you, because this is not what it's about. It can be a hard slog, can be hard going when you first start, working professionally or semi-professionally as a medium. You're not earning loads of money, so you have to be aware of those kind of things. It's not a money maker to start with. But even people that have been doing this 20 years, they're not necessarily, living the high life, and because many genuine mediums, we don't do it for the purpose of earning loads of money. We know that it's not going to earn us loads of money. So we have to keep that in mind. So again, think about why you want to get into it, because mediumship it's an ability. I call it an ability. I don't call it a gift. I call it an ability, because everyone has their own gifts. And by having this ability, it doesn't make you any better than anybody else. And I think maybe that's just, I'm not a fan of the ego. I know we've all got ego, right? Let's be honest about it. But for some people, when you mention, I have a gift, it automatically puts you above other people, and that's not the case. There is no hierarchy here. So I'd never say I'm gifted or I have a gift. I always say I have an ability, and that also keeps me grounded as well, because that's what we need to do. Because the ability is not about me. This is about helping other people. And just come back to the point of mediumship is an ability to be shared. It's not an ability to be kept to yourself and be self-serving. It's not a self-serving ability. It's there to help other people. So just keep that in mind. Just make sure you're going into it for the right reasons. And as long as you have the best intentions, you have the best intentions to help other people, then you can't really go wrong. So it's about understanding with yourself why you want to do it, and that you're doing it for the best intentions of all concerned. So there are many different ways of learning and developing and training in mediumship and or psychic ability as well. And it's really doing whatever suits you and whatever resonates with you. For example, development circles in churches or spiritual centers are not for everybody. Just reading a book is not for everybody. It's finding something that resonates with you, but making sure that you are looking at the right things, you're researching the right things, doing things I don't want to put it in a particular order, because I don't think that there's necessarily, again, an A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step of becoming a medium, right? We have to do things that work in order for us, and that we do things which make sense, and be able to share that with other people. So what I mean is, I think it can be sometimes very difficult to develop and train as a medium by yourself, because it can be quite a lonely path, because not everyone is going to understand you. And if you don't have people in your family who are already psychics or mediums, then it can be a bit of a lonely path. And from my own perspective, when I first started developing in 2017, which I know is not so long ago, but there's no one in my family that I knew of who were psychic or mediums. So when I discovered that I did have this ability, which had kind of lay dormant for a number of years, I had no one really to talk to about it, and I kept it quiet for a little while before I told anyone I was developing as medium or a psychic. And it can get a bit lonely, because you feel like no one else really gets it, no one else really understands it. If you experience something, you don't really feel like you can mention it to your family or friends, because they look at you like, what? Like you've got two heads. So my advice and my suggestion, you obviously don't have to take it, but my advice would be to find a group of like-minded individuals who think the same way, who may be developing along the same journey, whether it's through a development circle at a spiritualist church, whether it's at a private home circle someone's running, but find people that understand you and get you. And what you will find is, when you have those people around you, your development really does start to kick off, because you're able to get things off your chest. You're able to listen to other people's point of views. You're able to learn from other people, because you then now have that circle of people which get it. So that's a real benefit. Again, not everybody resonates with sitting in a circle. It can also take confidence to do it. And I know when I first started developing, I started developing, I was like, more self-development really when I first started. So for about 4 months, I was self-developing. And then I found a local spiritualist church, but it took me weeks to muster up the courage to go. And I don't know why. I do know why. I think it's because, again, then when you first start doing this, you think, am I going mad? Can I really do this? And so to go to a place where which you're unfamiliar with can be quite daunting. But you know, when I first walked into the church, I knew straight away I was at home. Sounds cliche, a lot of people say it, but it's true. It's like I'd found a place where people really understood me and could really help me develop and train as well. So coming back to the beginning of development, when I started self-developing, for me it was all about research, and that's what I would say to you. Research, look at different things. And the internet can be quite a dangerous place. I know there's some good stuff out there on the internet to research and to look at. So I started looking for meditation tips. I started looking for, how do I open up my third eye? How do I become more aware? I found a mentor, and a mentor worked with me for a while, sending me exercises to do and then report back to her. So I had a mentor for a little while. I found a really great book. I can't remember what the name of it's called now, but ultimately it taught me the importance of grounding and protection. It taught me about all the chakras. So I had all this knowledge under my belt before I actually went to a spiritualist church. So when I sat in the circle, I wasn't going in blindly necessarily, because I've been meditating every day for 4 months. That might sound quite excessive, and I'm not saying to everyone you have to do that, but for me, I did. I'm quite an impatient person by nature, so I wanted to get it. And meditation is not easy, right? Anyone that's done meditation, it's a discipline, right? It really is a discipline. So it takes a while to get it. So I had all this under my belt before I went to a spiritualist church, but that's what worked for me. So when we sat in circle, we talked about the chakras, I knew what they were. We talked about grounding and protection, I knew what it was. But that worked for me. And I'm very much like, when I grab hold of something and I'm interested in it, I want to learn more and more about it. And that's an important thing to say to you as well, is that learn. Be a sponge. Take in all you can at your own pace. But also be prepared that with mediumship, it's a journey, and you're forever going to be learning. You could be doing it 30 years, but you still continue to learn and develop. Your abilities will stretch, they will grow, they will change. The way you read in 30 years time will be very different to how you started. So just be prepared that this is a journey. This is not something quick. As they say, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It takes time to get to the finish line. You are going to be worn out at some particular times. You're going to be quite tired. So just be prepared for that. So with that, what I want to say is, doing these 6-week courses, which are advertised, you see some learning platforms will say they learn to be a medium in 6 weeks. It don't work like that, and that might be quite controversial, because I know there are people that may have done that, but it's not something I necessarily agree with, because I'm into my 5th year of training and working as a medium, and I'm still learning. I've done a lot of readings, and I look back at those readings and I look at them and go, do you know what? I've done all these readings and I still haven't experienced every single scenario. And I'll still be saying that in 20 years time, I'm sure. So it is a journey. It's not rushing the journey. And I've been told that myself by other mediums that have done readings for me. I've also been told that by my own spirit guides, is that slow down a little bit. And I think when you first start learning, it is quite exciting. And because it's quite exciting, you want to learn more and more. You want to learn quicker and faster, which is great because it shows your passion and commitment for it. But at the same time, you still need to allow yourself that breathing space. We need to adjust. We need to take stock of what we've learned. And it's like life in general. If you continue going and going and going and going, one, you're exhausted, but number two, you don't take the time to look back and reflect on what you've learned and go, okay, I've learned that, I need to absorb that, I need to learn that, I need to absorb that. And that's what we need to do with mediumships as well. And I have to tell myself this all the time as well, that I do need to sit down and reflect on what I've learned in the past 5 years. So what I do and what I have done ever since I started developing, I have journals and journals and journals of everything. Every reading I've done, I've had to write down. Any development class that I've done, I've written down. So I can look back at my journals and look how far that I've come and remind myself of the things that I've learned along the way. And that's a really good development tool. So I would suggest doing that as well. So if you are starting out, I would suggest get some notepads and just journal and write down your or document your journey. So that's what I've done. It's really helped me. So maybe I would suggest you might start doing that yourself. But also importantly, when you are on this journey, don't compare yourself to other people. And I think that is an important lesson that I have learned, and I will say it to anybody, is that everyone is on their own journey. Everyone learns and develops at their own pace. And I know that from being a trainer in my previous jobs, where I trained people in the company to do their jobs. I was a customer service trainer across Europe. And you do learn that everyone learns differently. They have different ways of learning. So some people are not really good at sitting down and just listening to someone talk at them. Some people are not so good at just sitting reading literature. So you have to find your own journey, find your own way, but do it at a pace which suits you. Because it's very easy if let's say you're sat in a circle with somebody and you've been there exactly the same time, but you can see the other person speeding way ahead of you and you're thinking, hang on a second, why are they over there and I'm still back here? Because that's just your journey. Your spirit guides and your spirit team, they know what you need far more than you do. So if they think it's a bit too quick for you to do a particular thing, then so be it. But if they think it's the right time for that person to do a certain thing, so be it, because that's on their journey and you don't know what that person has done so far in their life to develop as quick as they have. For me, I've got to say, my development has been very, very quick, but because I've worked at it. And I sometimes had to stop looking at other people as like, why are they doing that and I'm not doing that? Why am I doing this and they're not doing this? So you have to kind of be honest with yourself and say, do you know what? I'm on my own journey. It's not about that person. It's about mine. And my ability will unfold as it's supposed to unfold. So that's, I think, a really important piece of advice to give there is focus on you, focus on your journey, and it will unfold and develop as it's meant to. And I also think, commitment and dedication to this is so important. And when I first, again, going back to my development, when I first started, I was so engulfed in it because I was excited about it, but it's because I was committed to it and dedicated to it. When I see something I really want to do and want to achieve, I do stick to it. And obviously there are things in life that we do, might be a hobby or something, might do for a little while and you think, oh, I can't bother doing that anymore. But with this, it's very different because you see the impacts that you're having on yourself as well as other people. So dedication to it is really important. Again, doing it for the right reasons. And if you want to do stuff outside of an official training program, then do. So for example, for me, although I was sat in circle, which was once a week for an hour and a half, on a Monday, I think it was, I still did learning outside of that. And that's, I think, why my development's been quite quick, because again, I was dedicated to it. I was committed to it and I wanted to know more and more and more. Again, I had to pull myself back, take my foot off the gas a little bit. But for me, it wasn't just about going to church, once a week. For me, it was more than that. For me, it was, I need to continue to learn as much as I can, also outside, as well as inside the church. But that was just my own personal journey, right? The last thing I think I will say is when it comes to literature, what I've already mentioned, there are so many books out there from various different mediums. And I've got my own book, which came out last year. There are so many different books out there that go with what resonates with you, and go with what books that you are drawn to read. Now, I've been given a number of different pieces of advice when I was developing, and there was a medium who was at my church, and she said to me, no, she's never read one spiritual book in her life. And she also, when she gave me a reading, she said, look, there are so many books out there that it can be confusing, because each book will give you different advice, give you different viewpoint, give you different opinion on something, and it can end up really confusing you, and you start to think, who do I believe? So that was in my mind a lot, because although I'm not a big reader, although I've written a book, I didn't really read a lot of books. Not because I just couldn't be bothered. I was busy doing something else as a kid, especially. But now I do like to read different books and learn about different mediums of the past. And I was sat one day, and I was sat in meditation, and I spoke to my guides, and one of my guides, Dolly, she came in, and I said to Dolly, look, I've read all these books, and there are so many different opinions on this, that, and the other. What do I believe? And the answer that came back from my guide was, David, you need to come to your own conclusions. And that's really important to say, is that your soul will know what resonates with you when you feel it. So when you read and see something, your soul will resonate with it, or it won't resonate with it. If it resonates with you, then stick to it. If something doesn't resonate with you, don't be forced into believing it just because someone has written it. You go with what you resonate with. And that's what I will say. So I know very much, if I look at something or read something and I get that shudder, we call it the truth chills, I know that for me, my soul resonates with that and believes that. So that's what I will say to you as well. Read books, absolutely. Get different perspectives on mediumship, on spirituality, but go with what your soul resonates with. And that's really important, that you don't become a spiritual robot. You do mediumship, but you're still a person, you're still an individual. And it's okay to express your individuality. You don't have to agree with everything every single medium says. You come to your own conclusions, and you go with things which sit right with you. So ethics and morals are something that I deeply resonate with. I find one of the most important things in mediumship. And that's because we are dealing with people. We are dealing with people's lives and emotions. And therefore, we have to deal with those things sensitively and respectfully. So it's really important that when you are developing, is that you learn the ethics and the morals in mediumship. Now, if you go to a development circle, you're going to learn all that stuff anyway, right? But if you are doing this by yourself, which is something I don't necessarily recommend, you need to make sure that you understand the ethics and morals. Now, some people say, well, it's quite obvious. Now, you would think that, but the amount of stories that I've heard from my followers who have come to me personally, talking about things they've been told previously by other psychics and mediums, it makes my toes curl. Some of the stuff these people have been told is absolutely horrendous. And it shows me that there are people out there, unfortunately, who do not understand ethics in mediumship or psychic readings, have no compassion. They must enjoy scaring people, putting the frighteners and the fear on people. And it's something that really, really annoys me. So it's really important that you learn the ethics of mediumship. So you learn about, what do you say to people? How do you handle certain situations if they come through to you? How do you put things across to people? Because there are means and ways of doing it. And if you don't know ethics and you don't train properly, then the most horrendous things can come out your mouth. So just be aware of that, because we are not here to frighten people. Again, we have a responsibility to be ethical, to know our morals. Now, I'm not saying we have to be these highly religious, people, more holier than thou. We're none of that. It doesn't make us any better people, right? But what I'm saying is you have to understand that what we are doing involves compassion, respect, empathy, all those kind of things, and make sure that you learn the ethics in mediumship. So talking about responsibility, it's really important that you understand your responsibilities of being a medium. Our responsibility is to uplift people, to help people through their grief, to help people heal, to help people find that peace or comfort that they've been looking for. It's not about bringing closure, because for some people there's never going to be closure. No, we don't have the answers for everything. You might have many people come to you wanting to understand, what exactly happened with the loved one's passing. You may not receive the information. We only get given what we're meant to get given in a reading. So closure is not always there, but the peace should be there, the comfort, the evidence from spirit, the message from spirit for the particular sitter that you're reading for. That's a responsibility. And what we're not here to do is we're not here to convert or convince people. And I think that's a really important thing to say from my own perspective, because, everyone has their own faith and everyone believes what they want to believe. Some people don't believe in anything. Some people believe in spirit. Some people are not quite sure. Some people believe in God. Some people don't. All of which is fine. What people have to people have to come back to their own conclusions, right? If somebody doesn't believe in the spirit world and there's no way they're going to believe in it, then they don't believe in it. That's it. We don't have to argue about it. We don't have to try and convert them or convince them. And I'd go back to, understanding why you're coming into this in the first place. If you're coming into this to convince people or convert people, again, you're in the wrong job. This ain't for you, because it's not about that. Again, it comes back to the ego. I don't need to feed my ego by converting someone. That's not my job. My job is to provide evidence from spirit, is to provide messages from spirit, and to prove without doubt that our loved ones do go on just in another existence, in another world, being the spirit world. So it's remembering we're not here to preach. Now, as spiritualists, we're not here to preach. We're here to teach. We're here to prove the existence of the spirit world. We're not here to convert people. And yes, I have converted people through my readings, and that's great. But I don't wear it as a badge of honor, because that's not why I do what I do. As long as that person understands with the information I'm giving them and understands that it is their loved one coming through from the spirit world, that's all I care about. I don't care whether you believe in mediumship or you don't, or spirit world or you don't. I'm not bothered. As long as you can take what I'm saying to you and you take something from it, even if it gets people thinking. I think that's a really a nice thing as well, a nice touch. And people have said to me after reading my book that they read the book, they went into reading the book as having a skeptical mind, not quite sure. And the amount of messages I got afterwards saying, do you know what, you've really changed my perspective, or you've really made me think in a different way. That's great. If you can expand people's minds and get them to think in a slightly different way, not necessarily quite believing, but just thinking about things in a different way, then that's fantastic. And that's what that's one thing that we can do. But again, we're not here to convert or convince people. That's just not why we do what we do. Now, keep your feet on the ground as well. We have responsibility of dealing with people and their lives. And the only way we can really do that is by keeping our feet on the ground, keeping ourselves grounded. Because again, at the end of the day, this isn't about us. We have a great ability, a fantastic ability, but it's not about us. It's about helping other people, right? And that's what should always be at the forefront of the mind. It's not about you, gaining loads of notoriety and fame and fortune, all that business. again, your responsibility is to help these people heal. And we need to remember who we are in order to help them heal. So sometimes what it can also involve is making sure you're okay, making sure you've got the healing that you need, to make sure that mentally and emotionally your head is in the right place. Because to do this work, you have to be okay with yourself. You have to, put your own issues aside in order to help other people. What is this? You can't help other people unless you help yourself, right? So there could be some of that work you need to do on yourself as well, to make sure you're in the right place, the right position, to give that compassion and empathy which is needed with any kind of reading that you do. So remember to keep your feet on the ground as well. Standing strong in your beliefs is really important. And it's something which I struggled with at the beginning of my development, because again, come back to what I said earlier, if you don't have people around you who are this way inclined, psychic, mediumistic, it can be quite isolating, because you don't think anyone else understands you. So you have to learn to stand strong in your belief, because there are going to be people, whether you like it or not, that are going to either judge you, tell you you're mad, tell you you're wrong. If you do online work, you're going to get trolls. And I've had lots of trolls in the past as well, which tell me I'm this, that, and the other. I'm a fake, I'm this, I'm whatever. You're going to get all that. And I have to say, it did affect me at the beginning, because I did think about quitting, and I thought, why am I going into this? Why am I doing this? Well, this is the abuse that I get. It was only from online. It wasn't from people outside. It's just like the keyboard warriors. And I think, why am I doing this? Why? I'm trying to help people do something good with an ability that I know I have through the evidence I've given through my readings. And you have people coming on trying to dismiss that and telling you you're not doing it. So you have to build a tough skin and really stand firm in what you believe in. And once you have that self-belief, no one can really knock you. So now, having been doing this nearly 5 years, I am more than 100% confident that the spirit world exists. Now, I have that ability to connect to spirit. I have the ability, to see into people's lives. And it's only been through the practice and the work that I've done and the training that I've done in this field that's allowed me to really stand firm and believe that. So really know who you are, know what your beliefs are. So when someone tries to come at you with something, you're like, yeah, whatever. You can believe what you want to believe. I'll believe what I want to believe. And that's it. And that's an important thing to say. You don't have to argue with anybody about anything. You don't have to argue your belief. You don't have to argue your faith. All you have to do is say, yes, that's fine. You don't believe what I do. That's all right. Have a nice day. You don't need to defend yourself every time somebody tries to come at you with, you don't know, you can't do this, you can't do that. We don't need to do that. You know who you are. You stay strong in your belief. You're grounded. You're connected in. You've got your spirit team around you, and that's all you need to know. Personally, I don't care what someone else believes in. I don't care if they believe in what I do or not. That doesn't bother me, because it has no impact on my life. And sometimes you've got to think about it from the point of view of, and not to sound harsh with this, but you've got to look at some people and say, do you know what? You're not going to be one of my clients. You're not benefiting my life in any way. So why am I going to pay any attention to what you've got to say, really? So that's kind of how I try to look at things as well. It's, no, you're not paying my bills, mate. You're not helping my professional business. You're not helping me from a personal or professional development. So why am I going to pay any attention to you sat there behind a keyboard, or just it could be somebody else? No. That you just got to put aside and go, I don't need to argue about it. I don't need to defend it, because I know what I do through the work that I do with spirit, and that is it. So stand your ground, be confident, be confident in yourself. You are going to go through periods of lacking confidence, and I've been through that many, many, many times. And I think that's because, the work that we do can be quite mad, really, to say you talk to dead people. And I know a lot of spiritualists won't agree with what I just don't like the term I've used. I talk to dead people, but let's keep it real. These people have passed over, right? And that's what so it can sound mad. You think to yourself sometimes, am I really doing this? Even I know mediums after 20 years, 30 years have said, am I really doing this? Is that really me? Is that my mind, or is that no spirit really coming in? So you will have those moments of fluctuations. If you're an uber confident person, it might be less for you. But if you are somebody who lacks a little bit of confidence or self-esteem, it can have an impact. But you just have to find your way out of it. And I suffer from confidence most of my life, right? And even now, when I'm going to a reading, I'll be really nervous. And I think, what if I don't get anything come through? What if spirit are not there? What if I don't get that? Well, and you kind of have to slap yourself, have a word with yourself and say, do you know what? I know I've got the ability. I am a medium. And even when I say it to myself sometimes, go, I'm a medium. That sounds really mad. But you've got to accept it and have that confidence in it and trust in spirit and trust in trust in yourself as well. But I also think, for me personally, it's one of those things of when I grew up watching psychics and mediums from a very early teen, I used to look at mediums and psychics and I would say to myself, I can't do that, because psychics and mediums, they're just born special. And so I don't know if many of you also thought that way as well. But again, I used to look at them in awe and think, oh God, they're so special. What we do is special, but it doesn't make us any better than any other human being on this earth. There are lots of special people out there, and we are not these superhuman, super special people. Our clients can say that no, what we've given them is special, what we give them is a gift, and that's absolutely fine. But for me, it's really important to remain grounded and remind yourself, you're just a human being. You're just a human being with an ability that helps other people. Just like there are other people out there, doctors, nurses, carers. For me, they're very special people. They do jobs which I personally don't think I could do. And that's how I look at it. So it's looking at it as, I think that's sometimes why the confidence issues can come in, because you think, oh, am I special enough to do it? Am I good enough to do it? Yes, you are. You don't have to be a particularly special person to have this ability, because ultimately everybody has the ability to connect with their own loved ones in spirit, but mediums have the ability to connect to everyone else's loved ones in spirit. So keep yourself grounded. Know you've got the ability. Sometimes you've got to say to yourself, do you know what, shut up, just get on with it. You can do it. And give yourself that pat on the back, and encourage yourself, be your own champion as well, because not everyone out there is going to champion you. So you have to have that inner trust and inner faith to do this work as well. So stand strong in your beliefs. Yes, know who you are. Trust in spirit. Trust in yourself. So let's talk a little bit about philosophy quickly without going too deep into it. So what I mean is that mediumship is more than just giving readings and messages and evidence and all that jazz. There's a whole philosophy behind it, and the understanding of it, the mechanics of it, beliefs, faiths, and all that kind of stuff. The 7 principles of spiritualism, which you can find from the Spiritualist National Union. They have 7 principles of spiritualism, so it's worth taking a look at them as well. So it's also being open-minded enough to learn about the literature and the philosophy behind it as well, because really mediumship is just the practical demonstration of the belief of the philosophy. So it's really making sure that you don't have to understand everything, because some things you're not going to understand, but it's also going through the philosophy and literature as well as just doing the readings, right? But I will say that, again, going back to what I said before, is that it's going what you resonate with, because not everyone resonates with all things to do with spiritualism. Not everyone resonates with God. Some mediums I know are pagan. Some mediums don't have a lot of beliefs at all, but they are mediumistic. And don't be led to think that you have to be all holier than thou, believe in this, that, and the other to be a medium, right? Because there is ego out there. There's a little bit of snobbery out there within the spiritual community that you have to do this, you have to do that, have to believe in this to be a great medium. No, you don't, because again, everyone is an individual, and again, as long as you're doing the training and you go into it with the right intention, you can be a bloody fabulous medium, I've got to say. So, example for me, one of my issues, developing so much later in life, and I'm nearly 40 now. Is because I didn't grow up in a spiritual family. I grew up in an Irish Roman Catholic family. And of course, they don't believe in mediums or psychics or anything like that. So I didn't have that belief system around me, which is why it took me so much later in life to develop my ability. And although I grew up Catholic, I don't necessarily resonate with God as God. I believe there's a higher power, but I don't consider myself talking to God or addressing him. I address the spirit world, the divine spirit, because that's what resonates with me. So again, go with what you resonate with, but be open to learning about the philosophy as well as the mediumship, because there's far much more to it than just doing readings. And anyone that follows my Facebook page will know that when I do Facebook Lives, they're not all about reading people. They're not all about giving psychic guidance or spirit messages. People know that I like to talk. I like to do Q&As on my Facebook Lives, because I like to educate. I like to share my knowledge from what I've learned, share my views and opinions from what I've learned with other people, so other people know that again, I'm not special, that we all have that connection to spirit. And again, there's so much more to it than just reading people. It's about the experience of spirit on a daily basis in your own homes. It's not just about a medium giving you a reading from the message from spirit. So people know I like to do that. Again, not in a preachy way, because again, I'm never going to tell anybody what to do, what to believe in. We have our own minds, we have our own thoughts, we have our own views and opinions, and that's what makes it. That's what makes the world it is. We do question things. We have to question things. So people enjoy that as well in my lives. Is that I like to educate as well as just giving readings. So just be open-minded. Just be open to learning the philosophy, because that will give you a great foundation, even stronger foundation in mediumship, because you'll know the basics. You'll know the history behind it. And on that note, now I talked about books earlier on, but go back and read some books from the older generations of mediums. So go and read books from Estelle Roberts. And it was called 40 Years of Medium. I think now it's called 50 Years of Medium. And Estelle Roberts was a fantastic, was like a pioneer for spirit. She a great medium going back to the early to mid 1900s. Look at Harry Edwards, look at Helen Duncan, then to the more modern mediums like Colin Fry and Betty Shine, and you'll see the journey of mediumship throughout the years. Mediumship today is very, very different to what it was back in the early 1900s. And you'll see that by reading those kind of books. So Estelle Roberts is one of my favorite mediums. I just didn't know her. She died many, many years ago. But just from reading her books, she was a true warrior for spirit. Didn't have an easy life, but she still carried on working for spirit, helping other people. And you really see the difference between what mediumship was like then to compare to what it's like now. So, as I say, read books that you resonate with, but do look at those older mediums as well, so you can see how far we've come with mediumship, with spiritualism as a whole. So I would suggest go and read some of those books as well. The last thing I want to talk about is knowing that throughout your development, your abilities will change. They won't stay the same. So, for example, let's say you're very clairvoyant, which means you see images and signs and symbols within your third eye, right? You see them in the mind. That may change and one of your other senses, let's say your clairaudience, may develop later on. So to give an example of that, I'll talk about a personal experience. So when I first started my development, I was very clairvoyant, because I'm very much a visual person. I'm quite creative. I'm quite a visual person anyway. And so I would all the information I would get would be through clairvoyance, so through my third eye. So I'd see images, symbols, little video clips within my mind, and that's how the information would come through from spirit. And then maybe about a year later, year and a half later, it could have been somewhere around that time, can't remember the exact date, I started hearing. So, and it's not in the physical ear, it's like a head voice, in a head voice. And this came about at a time when I lost a little bit of confidence. And I remember I was getting ready to do I had a little chat group on Facebook back then where I just got to do little messages just to practice. And I remember I sat in meditation, and all of a sudden I heard something said in my head. I won't repeat it because it's quite sensitive. But I shot up out of my chair and I thought, who said that to me? I was in the flat by myself. There was no one else there. And I came out of meditation, got straight in my little chat group, which I had back then. And I gave what I had in my ear, and somebody took it and then took all the further information that came with it. And it was also at a time where my guides, my spirit guides, were changing, and I had new guides stepping in. And as my other guide, Ricky, as he stepped in, my clairaudience started tuning up, and I started becoming more clairaudient as well. So at that point, I was then developing that through practice and through the different exercises I was doing. And I was seeing things in my head, and I was hearing things in my ear, and again, my inner ear. And what then happened was I did a couple of readings where they were to the clients, they were absolutely fine. But I came out of a couple of readings going, I don't know if that was good enough. I wasn't seeing everything in my head. I wasn't getting all those images I'd normally get. And I had a conversation with one of my medium friends, and the light bulb came on. And the reason was I was getting things being said to me clairaudiently. So I wasn't paying attention to what was being said to me. I was paying too much attention on what was going on in my head, which wasn't happening. So there will be times where you sometimes don't realize that your clairsenses are changing, they're switching, they're growing, they're expanding. So it's just being aware and having the conscious awareness of, that's why I note things down, because I can look back at that period and go, okay, so that's when I start becoming more clairaudient. So now, 5 years later, I'm very clairaudient. I still see clairvoyantly, but I hear very strongly clairaudiently as well. So know that your senses will shift and they will change. Also be aware of your body. So as well as what's going on in your head and within your ears or whatever, again, not in your physical ear. I think a lot of people think when you say, I hear voices, you've got someone talking in your ear. You haven't. It's not your physical ear. It's your inner, like an inner head voice. Eventually, maybe after a lot of training, many years of doing this, you might start hearing things in your physical ear, but it's more a head voice. So yeah, coming back to talking about your body, your physical being is the antenna for spirit. So they're going to use your body as well as your clairvoyance, your clairaudience. You're going to become clairsentience, and that might also develop into more physical mediumship. So again, for me, after my clairaudience was being tuned up, I started becoming more aware of what was going on in my physical body, so becoming more clairsentient. So I might be drawn to a physical issue within my body, which somebody had before they passed, or it might be a cause of their passing, and I'll be drawn to certain parts of the body, feeling things more as well. But that's eventually developed to a little bit of physical mediumship, where I physically feel the issues going on within my body that affected the spirit person before they passed. So I would feel physical pains in my head if someone had a headache or migraines. If someone had a heart attack, I get a physical pain in my chest with the spirit telling me they had a heart attack. I will get a physical pain in the back of my neck. If someone's had a blow to the back of the neck, I'll physically feel it. I will start coughing and spluttering. If someone had a lung condition, lung cancer, some kind of lung disease, I will feel it. So that never happened before. So it will show that throughout your development, your clairs will change. They will change in, they will change out. They will grow. Again, they'll expand and become more tuned up. So just be aware of that as well. So if you're suddenly not getting information in a certain way which you're used to, pay attention to the other clairs as well. So you can understand, okay, that's changing, that's shifting. I'm still getting information, but it's coming in a different way. So I think a lot of times we panic and we think, oh my God, I'm not getting this, I'm not getting that. I can't feel my spirit guides, and all this kind of stuff goes on in your head, right? And talking about spirit guides, your spirit guides will also step back a little bit to allow you to take on your learning, to allow you to absorb what you've learned, to reflect, to recognize what you've learned throughout your journey so far. And I went through a phase of, I can't feel my spirit guides. My spirit guide's gone. Have I lost the ability? Oh my God, what am I going to do? When actually they're still there, but they have to step back to allow us that space to grow, to make our own decisions, to really assimilate what we've learned. And then they'll come back again with the next step of your development to tune you up even more, in different ways. So be aware of that as well. If that happens to you, you're not the only one. All right. So just keep that in mind as well. And I'll also say that I mentioned confidence earlier, and there will be a point, and I'm sure this happens to a lot of mediums, happened to me, so I'm personally talking about it, but there will be a time where you go through a period of, I can't do this, you lose confidence, you think you're not good enough, you feel the connection's gone, and that's a normal thing. And it's almost like when you first start developing, it feels very natural. You're very excited about it. You've got all these things coming in and you're very excited. And then it becomes unnatural, because I think you put an expectation on yourself that every single reading you do needs to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfection. And I've learned that the hard way. There's no such thing as perfection in mediumship. You get what you're given from spirit. My mum always says to me, you can only work with the tools you've got in your box. And that's very, very true. So there comes a period that becomes unnatural. You feel like, okay, am I forcing this through? Is it my imagination? Then eventually it comes back to the natural state again, when it feels more natural because you've relaxed more into it, if that makes sense what I'm saying to you. So you might have already been through that. That might be coming, but just be aware it's a normal process. So it'll be natural, it will feel unnatural, and then back to natural again. So just be aware that may happen. Now, for me, as I close this video, when I reflect back at my journey, and I thought about this recently, actually, because some people might say, 5 years is really quick to develop and be a working medium. I can understand it is very quick, but I'm dedicated to it, and that's why, and I'm committed to it, and that is why. So don't let anyone tell you either that this is too quick, that's too quick. You're on your own journey. There will be people out there, unfortunately, which will work to an agenda, and they'll try and put their agenda on you by holding you back. You don't let that happen. You work on your own agenda. As long as you're doing it in a good pace, you're not rushing things, you've got no problem. But don't let other mediums or spiritual people, whatever, tell you can't do this. No, you can do it because it's on your terms, not theirs. But just do things in the right order. Don't rush to get on platform in public places, because that can be more of a hindrance than a help. So to make sure you're developed properly before you start doing all the bigger stuff, right? And I'm still not there yet. So, but reflect back. Come back to when I reflect on myself, I realized that up until 2017, right, when I first started developing truly, all the experiences I had prior to that have been my training, because it's a life experience, and life experience is really something you need to help you and to assist you in your mediumship and in your development. Because in order to relate to your sitter, to have empathy and compassion for your sitter, on some level, you have to have experienced what they have to understand them and to have that connection. So again, so for myself, some people look at me and think, oh, you're really young. I love them, but I'm not that young. I've got 40 years life experience, right? And within those years, I've experienced a lot of loss. I've experienced different types of pain, depression, anxiety, losing loved ones that are dear to me. And without going into too much detail about it, but there's been a lot there that I pull on to help other people in their grief, in their loss, in their healing, and bringing the upliftment and comfort. And many mediums have done the same for me. I've been seeing many mediums and I've had many readings, and they've helped me through my issues. And if I can take some of that and do that for other people, that's what I'm going to do. Because again, as I said earlier on, this ability is not self-serving. This ability is to help other people. So take those life experiences that you've had. Don't brush them under the carpet, as painful as they might have been, because you can use some of that to help other people going forwards. Don't be ashamed of what you've been through, because it's only going to help you going into mediumship and really connecting with people. So sometimes, as I said before, you've got to do some of that soul searching. You've got to make sure that you're okay now, but you can still apply what you've been through to your ability to help others. So just help it grow, or help you grow as a person and develop as a person as well. But I think that's all I've got to say. That's some of my advice there, and some of my my guidance there for developing budding mediums as well. Again, if you want more about my journey, then do head to Amazon and order my book, which is called Coming Down to Earth by David Hale. It's available on paperback and a Kindle version as well. But that does document most of my first 3.5-4 years developing as a medium as well. So they give more insight into the book there. But I hope this video has been helpful. If you do like it, you do think it's going to be helpful for other budding medium or friends of yours, please do share the video. It'd be much appreciated, but I think it will help them as well. Please do also follow me on my Facebook page, and I'm under David H Psychic Medium. I'm on Twitter as well, Instagram, TikTok. So do give me a follow, and hopefully I'll see you on maybe one of my live events or on a Facebook Live at some point soon. But until then, take care of yourselves. Thank you for watching the video, and I shall see you all soon.